Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Monday Night Nonfiction Book Club. We're still working on the 150 Survival Secrets of James C. Jones, and his organization is AmericanSurvivor.org. I strongly recommend that you go to that organization and join. I think it's $20 a year. It does give the monthly newsletter, as well as beginning this year, there are going to be two national events, one in Indiana and one here in Central Texas. And that'll give you access to that. God, he's got an awful lot of good books, a lot of real good books. Strongly recommend them. This is an essential for your library. Just a phenomenal book. I like the way it's written 150 different things that are critical to you. Some of them are only pre-SHTF. I've got to be totally honest with you there. They're great survival secrets pre-SHTF, and some of them and a lot of them are post-SHTF. I'm trying to focus a little bit more on the post-SHTF stuff, but there's a lot of good pre-SHTF stuff. One of them we'll talk about tonight is how to react when you get stopped by a police officer, and that's one of his survival secrets. But I consider that more being before SHTF than after. For those of you who saw my Prepper Pantry haul for Saturday, you will notice that, whoops, it's covered by my body. But I went to the Bell County preparedness meeting on Monday. The president there gave me this. He said I needed something kind of SHTF related as a backdrop. So I'm going to have it back there over my shoulder. And you can be aware of my zombie survival kit back there. So let's say hello to everybody. I think Scott Hummer was the first one again tonight. Good evening, Scott. Welcome. Patricia was right behind him. So Scott Hummer, Patricia Butler will be here. Fantastic. 1776. Welcome. Let me see who else. East Tennessee Preparedness, Jim. You're not working an evening shift for once. Good to see you. Utah Mike. Love Son, Sue Me. Did I see Sue Me? Maybe my eyes are deceiving me. Kaylin Strain, good evening and happy birthday. A little bit late, but happy birthday. And Kane Corso, good evening. Good to see you as well. A little lone prepper, did I say that? Yeah, okay, there we go. Okay, gosh. So anyhow, one of the other things is if you go to survivalorg.com, I think that's it. Let me see. AmericanSurvivor.org. There we go, AmericanSurvivor.org. Go there. There is a tab in there, and it says Find a Group Near Me. And you can click on that, see if there's a group near you, because remember, this is a togetherness thing. We are not going to be able to survive this all by ourselves. So, ooh, I've got a cowlick or something up there. Wow. I always see all these anomalies with my hair when I go live. It's crazy. But anyhow, go to AmericanSurvivor.org. There is a list of organizations you can join. And if not, as long as you have one other person, you can form one. So Rick and I are forming one here in the Austin area. Let me tell you, you get, when you're forming one, then you get from the organization all kinds of stuff to help you to build that. You get past copies of American Survivor Org newsletter. You've got flyers that you can give to people, handouts, emergency preparedness basics. I mean, all kinds of great stuff. A crash survival team exercise for your first meeting, just to see how people think and all that kinds of stuff. A citizen's guide to family emergency preparedness, just all kinds of great information they print out, send to you so that you can have a very successful first meeting with your group. I know I was talking with one of our subscribers and one of the people here tonight on my on that Prepper Pantry haul, and she was concerned about the fact that she would not be accepted because, or she's not being accepted because of her religion and because she doesn't have a car. But I would say that, at least in my group, now we are, all but one of us are Catholics. So we kind of have a common mindset there. The one who is not Catholic is Jehovah's Witness. And, so there's a little bit of a clash there. But, I wrote into our bylaws basically that we respect each other's religions. We don't have to participate, but we do have to respect. And so that's not an issue. Religion is not going to be an issue. But I do believe that you have to have either a way to get to where you're going to be organizing, collecting, being in one location, or you can plan your place for that if you get the group together yourself. That's what I did. So my we call this place the Alamo, and so that's where everybody's coming. That's our primary, and we also have an alternate and a contingent and an emergency. But pretty much everybody's going to come here. So if you form your own group, they come to your place. So there's an advantage to that. Okay, let's get into this phenomenal book. Please, it's in the listing. So get yourself a copy, tab it, highlight it, do everything you can to it, use it, abuse it, memorize it. Should a survivalist be trained in hand-to-hand combat? Absolutely. Knife combat would be fantastic. Some sort of martial arts would be phenomenal. I would strongly recommend that you get some good courses in shooting. And I would say put yourself in some stress. Just before here, I was on Survival Dispatch. And so they were talking about stress-related firearms training. He says, soak your hands in ice water for 3 minutes before you go to the gun range, just as you're getting ready to fire. It's going to affect how you shoot. So that can replicate going out into the cold, when you're don't have any gloves on. There's all different kinds of things you can do to place your body under stress to make sure that your training replicates the environment that you're going to be in, okay, and the circumstance that you're going to be in. So I strongly recommend that. And get lots of good training there. But the hand-to-hand, if you can do a martial arts, that would be fantastic. I've done Tai Chi. A lot of people don't think of it as being a martial art. Ohio Valley Prepping, good evening. Good to see you. Don't think of it as being a fighting form, but it is. I also am studying American cane fighting. So those are the two that I'm in, and then you can see what you can do for yourself. There's all kinds of different things. The guy who is the Jehovah's Witness in our group, he is a 15th degree black belt in, I forget the form that he's in, but he's been doing this one form since he was 13 years old, and he's now in his 60s. So, but he is one of the grand masters of this form in the United States. And so, we're pretty lucky there. We call it martial arts for old farts. So he kind of gives us we do some exercises when we get together, and he teaches us some basic things. So yes, the answer is yes. You should be trained in some form of martial arts. In the book, you got to buy the book to get what he's talking about. I'm not going to give away what he has copyrighted here and what he has put together, such a vast, extensive array of knowledge. What weapons can you use? He talks about your head, the palm of your, or the side blade of your arm, your elbows, knees, feet. Everything's a weapon. Then he talks about, he gives a list of probably about 20 target points on the enemy, on your opponent, that you want to strike. And so really great information. 92, how can I survive emergencies in the outdoors? Well, number one, make sure somebody always knows where you are. So tell people where you're going before you go. When I was up at the Bell County Preparedness Group this last weekend, Methane Creator told the group, he said, one of the things that you can do is, what Lee's teaching us about this cipher, is if you have to evacuate to a place that you had not had in your plans, leave a deciphered message that only your group knows how to decipher. And that way you aren't giving away your location as you're going to a new location. So that's another way that you can get that information out to people in your group without sharing that information just anybody who comes across that note. So make sure people know where you are. Always travel with one or more companions so somebody can get, know your limitations. Don't be afraid to speak up. Watch where you step. Always carry your kit with you. Just simple, basic things. Really, really good. With the number 93, with the availability of modern GPS devices, why does a survivalist need to know map and compass? Because if the satellites go out, you don't have GPS anymore. So you're going to need map and compass. I will tell you, a simple road map is sufficient, but not what you really, really want. What you really want is you want a topographic map. And a topographic map, you're going to have to learn how to read it as far as contour lines. Blue is always water. Green is vegetation. Black is usually man-made objects. All those different kinds of things. Contour lines are brown. The closer they are together, the steeper the incline. The further apart they are, the more gentle a rise it is. All these different kinds of things that you have to know in order to read a contour map. If you have a contour map and a compass, you are very well off. So then it says, how can I determine direction when I don't have a GPS or a compass? Number 94. But let's get into this real quick. I wanted to show these to you. This is my 1963 Boy Scout compass. Okay, so this sucker is 62 years old. You can change the bevel so that basically what you want to do is you find where true north is, or I'm sorry, where magnetic north is. You get the bezel lined up with it. You point this towards the direction you want to go. So you're going to start off with everything pointing north. Then you determine, okay, that's magnetic north there. I want to go that direction. So now you have it set up so that whenever you're walking, all you have to do is turn your compass. And once the inside line and the arrow line up, then you know you've got to proceed along this direction here in order to maintain that same course. Okay, very simple, not that expensive. Now, when I was doing a lot of hiking and camping and stuff like that back in the 1980s, we got a bezel compass. Okay, so this has a lot different capabilities to it. It's got a sighting scope here, so you can actually sight where it is that you're going to get a more accurate. Remember, this one you're just kind of going along a plastic line there, looking at it. So this one you actually have a sighting groove. And then once you get that sighting groove, you can also take the inclinometer here. And because you're looking through the groove, you can now raise it and say, okay, I am looking at whatever angle. That gives you how much of an incline you've got between where you are and where you need to go. So there's all kinds. It's got the same bezel here where you turn it so you have your angle of measurement and everything else. Then this one's really fancy. It's got a little leveling bubble. But this one's a little bit more expensive than the basic Boy Scout. I can tell you that. It's also much heavier. This is solid steel. Okay, this is aluminum and plastic. So this is maybe I don't even think this weighs a full ounce. This is probably closer to about 8 ounces. Okay, this is about $300. This one's about $25. So, but I will tell you that if all you have is a road map, this will do. Okay, you only need the other one if you actually have a topographic map and you're going to be really concerned about traveling cross country. If you're traveling the roads, in between roads and things like that, and you have a road atlas, this is all you need. Okay, you could probably even do it with a little bubble compass and you would be fine. So how can you determine direction if you don't have a GPS or a compass? There are a couple ways he gives you the watch method. The problem with the watch method nowadays is, Rogue Gypsy, good evening, welcome, good to see you. The problem with using the watch is that most people no longer carry analog watches. We carry these digital things, right? So almost everybody has a digital watch. So if you have a digital watch, it won't work. You need a chronograph watch, or you need an analog watch in order for it to work. He goes through the steps on how you're going to use it here. Another way is you put a stake in the ground. You put another stake where the shadow is falling, okay? And then you wait a while until the shadow's on the other side of the stake. You put in another stake, and then those two end up being east-west, okay? So you know that 90 degrees difference between those two is going to be north-south. Very approximate, give you good east-west, north-south. However, the disadvantage is you got to stay stationary for at least 4 hours for it to work. It's not going to work while you're in the evening. Suzanne Goulet, hello, good to see you. One of the things that I like to have, and I've broken both of them just here in the recent, 3 or 4 last months. I used to have on my log, I can show you I think I have it around here somewhere. Yeah, here we go. Here's 2025. And that'll also tell us when they broke. But if we go back here, okay, so I only had one in August. I had 2, but in August, I was keeping track when I wound it up. At 7:25 in the morning, it had gained 1 minute from the previous day. So I was trying to keep a list of its accuracy for the wind-up watches or wind-up clocks. I broke both of them. One of them was the alarm clock, the OD alarm clock I had in the barracks when I was in Germany in 1977. So that's how old that one was. And it broke first, ordered the replacement from Walmart before that one broke. And that one didn't even last me a year. I was winding it, just bang, it tore a knuckle like you would not believe. But anyhow, those are the 2 ways he talks about determining direction. Of course, the analog watch and the stake method. Now, if it's nighttime, you can always use the North Star, okay? So if you look at Ursa Minor, Ursa Major, or the Big Bear, the Little Bear, the Big Dipper, Little Dipper, whichever way you want to call them, the handle of the Big Dipper, the brightest star is the North Star. Is that the very tip of the handle of the Little Dipper is the North Star, okay? A lot of the newer watches are quite large on a smaller wrist. Mine is somewhat large but not heavy. I'd call it mid-sized. So Suzanne, is that an analog watch or is that a digital watch? David Canterbury and Corporal's Corner have all kinds of videos on navigation with and without a compass. Absolutely correct. Yeah, so I have an analog watch. The bad thing about the analog watch that I have in storage right now, because I have this new iWatch, the thing about that is that it's a battery operated watch. So I ordered a wind up analog watch, and so that is in there in case of an EMP. And of course, if I lose the battery on that watch. Dad convinced me to go to this jeweler here in Round Rock. And this was back in 1991. Or was I home on leave before I retired? But anyhow, at least 1991. He said, look, for $25, you pay them $25 now, and they'll give you free batteries for the rest of the life of your watch. So I did that in 1991. I paid $25. And I still got free batteries for life on that watch. So I probably had it replaced 4 or 5 times since then, since 1991. So that was actually a pretty good deal. Thank you, Dad. Appreciate you taking care of me like that. What is a key, 95, what is a key consideration in survival preparedness and emergency action? And it's just being ready for it, planning ahead. I'm sure you've heard the old adage, and he kind of beats around the bush, but this is what he's actually saying. The best defense is a good offense, okay? So if you can disrupt the enemy's or the opponent's intentions prior to them actually acting on you, you have a far better way of surviving. You have to have a right mind. You have to be able to really assess the situation. You have to be very well prepared for it. You have to be very well trained for it. So if you have all those things in place, then I would say the best defense is a good offense. But there's nothing wrong with a good defense at all. But the key to preparation is thinking, what can happen? What can go wrong? How can I mitigate that? How can I plan for that? How can I, what are all the things that I can do now to prepare for that? And one of the things I love on the Facebook page I belong to, Prepping for the Long Term, is people are always asking questions and you go, whoa, I haven't thought of that. So how do I, or what would I, or how could I? Sue Me, who's on here quite often, sent me a link. She's up in Canada. And so she sent me a link to a page where, one of my main concerns is the disposal of human waste. And she saw that there are some indigenous tribes in northern Canada that are using incinerator toilets. So she said, hey, Lee, I know you're concerned about, poop in a post-apocalyptic world. Here's a toilet. You put a layer of toilet paper, this big flat sheet of toilet paper down on top, down first. You do your poop. Then you flush it. It goes down inside. And then it lights the paper on fire. The paper lights the poop on fire, and everything burns, and you're good to go. And I thought, wow, that's really neat, until I saw the price. No, I'm going to come up with another Ohio Valid Prepping. Did I say hello to you? I hope so. And Phioxerus. So, hopefully we'll get that taken care of. But it'll be another way other than a very expensive incinerator toilet. How can I survive an active shooter situation? Be prepared. I was not too far away from the Luby's shooting in Killeen back in the 70s. And, that convinced me I will never have my back to a door again. And I also, there are other things that one of the women who is now an advocate of, what happened there, her parents died in her arms. They were going to lunch together, much like I was going to lunch with my dad. And, but she was at lunch with her mom and dad, and they killed her dad outright, and her mother was in the process of dying, and she was holding her mother, and she said, it's crazy. She said, I took my firearm out of my purse and put it in the glove compartment of my car before I went into, yes, it was in Texas, L-Dog, Killeen, Texas, as a matter of fact. Triple G Farms, good evening. Good to see you. But she said she took it out of her purse and put it into her glove compartment. She says, just think, I may have saved my parents' lives if I had not done that. And so she feels really, really guilty about that. And, it's terrible. Pete, do you remember what year that was? That was in the 70s, if I remember correctly. The shooting in Killeen. Maybe Kaylin's really good. She looks these things up. Killeen, look up the Killeen Luby shooting. I think it was 1978. It may have been the 1980s. It may have been when I was at Goodfellow. So yeah, no, 77 to 80, I was in Germany. So it had to be 81, 82, or 83. One of those 3 years. Yeah, it was a very early 80s. How can I, so we talked about that. Make an escape plan, be observant, alert, identify potential bulletproof things to get between you and an active shooter. Act immediately, don't hesitate. I keep my cane so that I can use it immediately. I won't say what other means I have available to me. Take cover, escape, hide, barricade, engage, communicate, recover, and help others. And so, one of my biggest fears, and I'll be honest with you, about being an armed citizen is that if I am in the process of dispatching the bad guy and the police arrive, how do they know which one of the two of us is the bad guy and which one of the two of us is the good guy? Was it 1991? Was I already retired? Oh my gosh! Wow. So I was up and wow. Time flies. Don't know where I was. Yes, she was, and she's a very strong advocate for it. Okay, he's got 6 or 8 bullet points on how to recognize a potential active shooter. What can you do? And but like I said, one of my main concerns is if I'm taking him out and the police arrive, how will they identify me as a good guy instead of a bad guy? Simple thing, comply with anything and everything they say. The minute you see the police arrive, drop your weapon, say, I'm a good guy or whatever. I'm Blue Force, I'm whatever. And he's over there, point, but make sure that you disarm yourself first, because you don't want to be armed engaging another citizen when the police arrive, because they won't be able to differentiate between good and bad. Okay, just a word to the wise. Okay, this one I really want to spend a little bit of time on, because this one is happening right before our eyes. The whole Iranian revolution right now is because their currency has gone to pot. We see the same thing happening in France. We see the same thing happening in China. Oh, the Chinese yuan is basically trash right now as well. And then with everything we've done recently in Venezuela and taking the oil away from the Venezuelans, which was basically going to China and Russia, that's going to add another nail to that coffin as far as their economics. I'm not going to say that our economic system, our financial system, is not that far behind them. But I'm going to tell you, the world economy is crashing. I would not be surprised if by the end of this year, the world is not in another depression. So, just be aware that that's what's going on. So what do you need to do? Number one, he recommends investing in real estate. Real estate will always hold value, both houses as well as land. I would love to buy some land. There was a piece of land available just south of Killeen, and you can still see the listing, I believe, online. It's called the Lucky Penny Ranch, and it was like 400 acres. No, 600 acres. 600 acres with a 40-acre pond on it that was stocked with catfish and bluegill and, oh my gosh, trout. You name it, it had it. It had Clear Creek running through it, so it had a continuous supply of artesian water that was going through it, and that's what fed the pond. It had a hunting area on it. I mean, it had a barracks basically for the hands who worked there. It had a manager's stable. Our manager's house had the owner's house. Just a wonderful piece of property. Unfortunately, I could not come up with the $6 million that they wanted for it. So that's a good way to put it, Theoxerus. The U.S. is still the best-looking horse in the glue factory. Yeah, but pretty doesn't get us too much good, does it? Okay, the best trade and barter items that he can think of, and he gives a list of all the trade and barter items that he's talking about doing. I look at it a little bit different from most other trade and barter discussions. I'm looking at it from the sense of what is it most people are going to be wanting. Well, this sounds like a foreigner using a gerund when an active verb would do. What is it most people would want? Food, water, medicine, all this stuff about wanting lighters and sewing kits and alcohol. I look at Costco. I look at Specs. I look at all the different alcohol stores. I look at all the booze that's available at the 7-Eleven and everywhere else. And that's not going to be, they've got to go through all that. okay, before anything I want to barter is going to have any significance to them. Same thing with alcohol or tobacco. You know, I look at how much stuff is available, number one, in retail stores. They're going to be plundered like you would not believe. And then number two, in other people's houses. So there's an awful lot of all the stuff that everybody says to hoard for barter that's already out there that's going to be readily available, either in stores that are going to be plundered or in individual private homes. So I don't go that route. I go the food, water, and medicine route. And then the second thing is, are they going to have anything to barter with you for what you're bartering? Okay. So let's say that I have somebody told me, hey, Lee, the best thing to barter is matches. So I've got a garage full of matches, right? So somebody comes up and says, hey, Lee, can I have one of your matches? I say, what do you got for it? Well, only another prepper, which is about 5% of the population they think right now. It's growing, but only about 5%. And they say, well, I don't have anything for it, but I need a match. Well, no, I'm not going to give it to you. Bang, you're gone. You know, they'll take it. So all these theories about, you know, having such great things to barter, I don't subscribe to that. Another thing about barter that I have a problem with is I read Selko Begovich's stuff about his year in Hades, the Bosnian War. And he tells the story about how difficult and how time-consuming it was to effect a barter, okay? So I need, I'm going to use a situation he talks about in his book. I have a family member who needs some amoxicillin, okay? So this guy over here has amoxicillin. I want it. And what does he want for it? He wants gold for it. Well, I don't have any gold, okay? So I find somebody who has gold, but that guy that has the gold wants some 9mm ammo for it. Well, I don't have any 9mm ammo. This guy over here has 9mm ammo. And in order to get his 9mm ammo, he wants some freeze-dried beef. I've got freeze-dried beef. So now I go to person B with my freeze-dried beef and get his 9mm ammo. Then I take the 9mm ammo, go over to the guy who has the gold, and trade the 9mm ammo for the gold. But guess what? I don't have enough 9mm ammo. Now I got to come up with some more 9mm. So I got to do this all over again, right? So until I get enough 9mm ammo, then I'm going to get the gold. Now that I've got the gold, I can take the gold and go get the amoxicillin. By that time, the person may be so far into the illness that the amoxicillin is going to need a double dosage. So now I got to go through the whole process all over again. So bartering is not going to be a simple, I have this, you have that, let's swap it out, and we're happy because that person just happily struggled into your life. And, you know, it's not going to happen that way. The person who has what you need or want is not going to walk into your life. You're going to have to actively find that person. And that's why I think that markets, black markets, trade markets, Saturday markets, whatever you want to call them, are going to start popping up, because that's the only way they're going to have efficiency and effectiveness in the barter system. So that now I can go in, I can say, that table has what I want. What do you want for it? This is what I have. No, I don't want that. But that's that guy over there, he has. Now the whole process is a lot quicker because everybody's in the same tent, if that makes sense. I also believe that once that happens, there's going to be a common currency. Oh gosh, excuse me. I'm not going to prescribe what the currency is. You know, it could be salt, it could be silver, it could be gold, it could be U.S. dollar bills, it could be 45 ACP ammunition. I don't know what the currency is going to be. I'm prepared for almost anything, but I do know it's going to be a common currency that it's going to retain its value, and it also has to be what's called fungible. You have to be able to break it up into smaller increments. So that's why if you're going to store cash, make sure you store small bills rather than large bills. But he gets further into this, and he says, wait a minute. Because of what we've been talking about, and the fact that you have the matches, and that guy wants them, and he doesn't have anything to offer for them, he's going to do away with you. Make yourself valuable. Okay. Amen. Who said that? Utah Mike. Yeah. After you get it, now you got to keep it, and you got to be able to manage to keep it all the way home. Thank you for bringing that up. But one of the things that he says is, make sure you have something that makes you so valuable that other people are willing to protect you to keep you around. So have some sort of a phenomenal skill that's not easily replicated by other people. Okay, gardening, hunting, trapping, foraging, medicine, but have some sort of a knowledge, a skill, and ability that is going to make you valuable to everybody else, so that they can't just, if they want what you produce, they can't do away with you and still have what you produce. So let me see what Little Lone Pepper says. I don't think I could trade my antibiotics because I'm afraid my family or friends will need them. It might make me a bad person, but I'll choose them first every single time. No, that doesn't make you a bad person. That makes you a very responsible person. And I would agree with that. I would say that your family comes first. Gray Man Prepping. Hey, Gil. Welcome. Good to see you. So no. Take care of your family first. That's the same thing. I'm feeding my family first. Maybe if I have extras, I might give some to some of the other people. But my family comes first, whether it's medicine, food, water, defense, protection, you name it. But my family comes first. So we're in agreement there. So Triple G says that you may get his medications, but they may be expired. Well, and so one of the things that I am finding out, I take my Jace case with me every time I go for my annual physical. And I talk to my doctor about, the efficacy of every one of my medications and whether or not any need to be replaced. And so, what I'm finding out is that there are some that go toxic, and you have to be very, very cautious. You have to be very aware of that. Make sure you communicate with your physician as to which one become toxic after their expiration date. You don't want to take that. That's an automatic sentence of no longer breathing. But a lot of them, maybe they lose 10% efficacy per year for 10 years afterwards. So they're not going to have the same strength of dosage as they would up until the expiration date, but they will still have some effectiveness against whatever it is you're trying to provide. Okay, next one, 98. How should a survivalist interact with the police? Well, this is a good one. I just watched a video on this today. I took notes. It was an attorney, and he gave 5 tips. I only wrote down 3 or 4 of them. And this is in addition to what he's got here in the book. But he says the first thing is invoke your right to remain silent and have an attorney present for any interrogations. Invoke your right. Let me see, what else? If they ask for your identification and everything else, say, I'll be happy to comply. Make sure you have your hands on the wheel, on the steering wheel, and roll your window down slightly, okay, so that they don't have a clear view if you have tinted windows into your car, because then they can't say, I saw something suspicious in the car, right? So if you have your window rolled down slightly, say, officer, I'm going to comply with all your instructions. I'm going to pass you all my information through the window. If you're armed, let them know. And say, keep your hands where they can see them at all times. Best thing to do is have your registration and insurance on the dashboard. So while they're coming, you just put your wallet up on the dashboard, ready for them, so they can see anything. He says, would you step out of the car? And so your first question after that is am I free to leave? Am I being detained, or am I being arrested? Now then, if he says you're free to leave, you go, because these are 3 different legal statuses, according to this attorney that was on today. If he says you're being detained, okay, for what reason? The normal answer they're going to give you is for their security while they conduct an investigation. And you say, okay, so then he's going to ask you to exit your automobile. And you can then say, is that a request or is that an order? And if it's a request, you don't have to comply with it. If it's an order, you do have to comply with it. So that's that lady up in Minnesota. They told her to get out of the car, and she was starting to drive off, and that's why they were trying to open the door. But at least in Minnesota and in Texas, if they say get out of your car, you have to comply. However, what you want to say is, officer, I intend to fully comply with your instructions. However, I am doing it under protest. Now, that way, that does not give them any implied consent to search your car once you exit the car. Because once you're out of the car, theoretically, once you've vacated the car, they can search it, right? However, if you say you're complying with the request under protest, then that means that they have to have a warrant or any justifiable reason to search inside the car. Then once again, if all they do is stop you and they write you a ticket, the minute they hand you the ticket, ask them, officer, does this complete the reason for your stop? And if the answer is yes, you say, I am free to leave then, and drive off. If not, then you have to give you a reason why they're continuing to hold you, okay? So just some ideas. Number 1, comply with everything they say, but you can say I comply under protest, okay? Which means I'm going to do what you tell me to do, but I object to it, and I may use that against you in court. Make sure your hands are always visible to them. One of the things they taught us when I was in the military was when we approach the gate, we turn off our headlights and we turn on our interior dome lights. Same thing. If it's a nighttime stop, turn off your lights, turn off the ignition, and turn off the ignition either case when you're stopped. And that would also have avoided the thing up in Minnesota. But turn off your lights, turn off your engine. You can put your hazard lights on, which is great if you're on a roadway or something. And then turn on your interior dome lights so that he can better see where your hands are and what they're doing. But those are some of the things you want to do in case you're stopped. When interacting with police, always be calm, professional, and respectful. Do not escalate the issue. Don't raise your voice. Don't argue with them. Don't try to prove that you know the law better than they do, because you probably more than likely don't. But you can always say, I exercise my right of silence, and I would like to have an attorney present. Now, that automatically shuts down the interrogation. They can't ask you anything else. However, if he comes up and asks you something and you answer it, okay, even an innocent question, you've just eliminated your request for a lawyer, and you've eliminated your stance of not speaking, okay? If you say, I exercise my right to remain silent, everything from that point on remains silent. Don't answer any questions, okay? You can comply physically. Like if he says, okay, identify yourself, then you can pull out your driver's license and hand it to him. That provides the identification without you speaking, right? So you can identify yourself that way, but some good things. Police do not have the right to search your vehicle without permission and probable cause. If they say something like, you don't mind if we check your trunk, and you say, okay, you just gave up your Fourth Amendment rights. If you say, no, I refuse to allow you to search my vehicle. They have to respect that. Oh, by the way, if you don't say the phrase, I exercise my right to remain silent, and you just are starting out with the silent treatment towards them, and you don't say that, I exercise my right, then they can take that as probable cause for you being under the influence of something and you're acting strangely. And so you don't want to do that. You want to make sure you enunciate, I exercise my right to remain silent. Sumi doesn't. No, I don't think you do, Sumi. Well, I have to be honest. I don't know. Good. By the way, good evening. Good to see you. I don't know Canadian law, so I don't know. Let me see. What was that? Suzanne Goulet says, aspirin breaks down into acetic acid and salicylic acid. It's just more likely to upset your stomach than aspirin. It'll still work. Salicylic acid is the natural version in willow bark. Okay. Caitlin says she was stopped by police when walking from a bus stop to a client. There was a murder in the area, and she was allowed to go to her client's house. One of the things that they say is acting suspicious is always a probable cause to stop you. Just once, I'm having a hard time this evening, so just 1 second. Let me get a little bit of clarification on my lungs. Okay, last one, number 99. How can a survivalist survive in a gang-dominated neighborhood? Tough. He's got several good suggestions. Suggestion number 1 is move out. The minute the gangs move in, you move out. Period. That is the absolute best. However, if you're in a gang-controlled area, comply. Be gray as possible. Don't argue with them. Don't badmouth them to anybody. You never know who a mole is. Okay, so always comply. Be as nondescript as possible. Don't be positive. Don't be negative. Just be nondescript, and stay out from underneath the radar. You don't want to be in their sights. If you say too many good things about them, then they're going to be attracted to you. If you say anything bad about them, they're going to be attracted to you because they're going to keep an eye on you. Just don't say anything. Be quiet. Just stay gray. Be as invisible as possible. Now, before they get in there, if there's an active group that's trying to prevent it, trying to keep it, join that group. Prevention is okay, but actively fighting against them is not. So if you're in an area near to the gang areas, the problem is that they're going to eventually come over into your area, so that's going to be a problem, so you have to prepare yourself for it. There's 3 pages on how to survive in a gang-related area that I strongly recommend that you read. Just really, really good information. So let's see where we are in the chat and see what else we can come up with here. We might do one more. Let me see if there's one more. What's the next one? That'll take us up to 100. Okay. It is a good one, and we can do it in 12 minutes. If I'm on a very tight budget, how can I prepare for survival situations? Don't waste money on bottled water. What I do here in our bathtub, I have 4 of the Reliant 7-gallon jugs sitting in the bathtub. Helen drinks 3-liter Diet Cokes. As soon as she's done with the 3-liter Diet Coke, I've got a 3-liter Diet Coke bottle. I can put beans in it, rice in it, flour in it, water in it. So I've got probably, I probably have a dozen 3-liter Diet Coke bottles with the label taken off, also in the bathtub. Now, why am I putting plastic bottles inside the bathtub? I want, the minute SHTF happens, I'm going to pull all those out of the bathtub, put my my bathtub water bladder into the bathtub and fill it up. So that gives me another 100 gallons, okay? But right now I store that water in the bathtub because the bathtub can support the weight. Um, Food will be your next high priority. So just pick up 1 or 2 cans, 1 or 2 whatever's, pounds of rice, pounds of beans, whatever, every time you go to the store. Now, here's the thing, okay? We've got a timeline. And at the end of this timeline over here, you want to have, let's say, $1,000 worth of food, okay, to last you 10 weeks, okay? So we know that basically it's going to be $100 a week cost of food for you to survive. So over here, we say, okay, we've got 10 weeks until SHTF, so I can afford $100 a week. And these are all highly hypothetical numbers, okay? So I can do that $100 a week. Well, what happens if it gets condensed down to 5 weeks? Now, if we want to have that $1,000 at the end of the time, when we get ready, we've got to spend $200 a week. Well, what happens if we're getting ready and we say, hey, this stuff's going to happen next week? Now we got to spend $1,000 extra a week. So, number one, how far away do you think SHTF is? That's the number one thing. That's the timeline. How much value, cost of money, do you think you need in food to survive whatever's going to happen? So that requires a couple things. How much you're going to eat and how long you think that this SHTF situation is going to last. So multiply how much you're going to eat times how long you think it needs to last. That gives you a total cost. Now you take that total cost and you say, okay, I have 15 weeks before it's going to happen. Divide that total cost by 15 weeks, and that becomes your weekly expense, okay, if that makes sense. I'm very lucky. I thought it was always going to happen, next year. And I've been thinking that way now since, we came back from Germany, which that was 1987. Because in 84, I had to give all my stuff up when we went to Germany that I had all packed up and had to start all over again when we came back from Germany in 87. But, a can a week from 1987 to 2025 is a pretty extensive pantry. So that's only, 1 can a week. But that's over a period of 40 years. So, understand how that operates, okay? So act accordingly. Get some food. Stock up a little bit extra every week. My last pantry haul, I had 2 food items, okay? I had a package of miso soup, and I had a can of black-eyed peas. And then I had 4 jars of spice. And Sue Me sent me an email, or not an email, but she sent me a link that said that the spice I bought may be contaminated or poisoned. So thanks. Oh my gosh, that's terrible. But anyhow, that's the way it goes. Okay. Let me see. Thrift stores, you can find a lot of your prepping supplies in thrift stores, Goodwill, markdowns, etc. I like to go to prepper exchanges, where there's swap meets, and I can get a lot of good stuff there. After season sales for camping gear, stuff like that. Military surplus stores, flea markets, used firearms. Get a used firearm at a pawn shop instead of getting brand new at a gun store. eBay. I've gotten a lot of stuff from eBay. Most of my triple alarms for my perimeter alarm system, I got off eBay. I know all of my, no, I'm going to say half of my stuff that goes into triple alarms came off of eBay. The other half, for some reason, I can't find anymore. I had some CS canisters, so that when they hit the triple alarm, it basically puts out tear gas. And I had some where it was really loud noise makers and stuff like that, but I can't find those anywhere anymore. But you can find a lot of good stuff on eBay. a lot of good used stuff. One of the books I got, as a matter of fact, the one on essential oils. I got a book on an encyclopedia of essential oils for $4, including shipping, on eBay. Just this last week, I showed it in this week's Prepper Pantry Haul. So yeah, you can get all kinds of good stuff on eBay. So look for things there. One of the things that hello, Roaming Prepper. Hi, Pete. How you doing? So one of the things that we want to start doing is when we have these, Bell County does it. I've seen one at Belton or Bastrop Viking Preparedness. They had one. I was a member of a group, and I left the group, but I was recommending to them that they have swap meets at every one of their meetings. Check all these groups, see if they have a swap meet, see if you can swap with other people or purchase at a greatly reduced price. I showed you a knife that I bought, just over $20. I bought a new meat processing knife for out in the field. It's a fixed blade meat processing knife, bone saw, gut hook, the whole bit. Right now I have a folding knife. But gosh, I got that at a swap fest for preppers. So you can get all kinds of good stuff relatively inexpensively. Go to military surplus stores. I can get MREs $5 a bag cheaper at Syntex Tactical Preparedness in Belton. No, it's not in Belton. It's in Temple. In Temple, for $5 a bag cheaper than what I pay at the commissary at Fort Hood. Just wow, just unbelievable. Sue said, "Sorry, Lee." Let me catch up with here. They still do have some, Suzanne. There are a couple stops. I want to say they're probably, I ran across them on Interstate 10, and I ran across them on Interstate 20. I think it was in Hudspeth County. So just, you got El Paso County, and then Hudspeth, and then Culberson County as you're heading east. And so the Hudspeth and Culberson are two of the largest counties in Texas. But there were some Border Patrol checks there, trying to stop traffic, checking to make sure you weren't transporting illegals. Then there's another one I've run into a couple more. There was one that was real close to Yuma, Arizona on Interstate 10. Oh, no, that's Interstate 8. It was on Interstate 8, close to Yuma, Arizona. There was another one just west of Wilcox, Arizona on Interstate 10. So, that's been 15 years since I've seen those two. I do know the one in El Paso, coming just east of El Paso, is still there because I was home for my 55th high school reunion in October, and we went through it. Just had to say U.S. citizen, and they let me go. But that's pretty much it. So several years ago, while camping with other Iowa YouTubers, I was given a Leatherman Super Tool 200. Wow, I'm jealous. Okay. Let me see what Sumi said, something that people are responding to, and I want to see what it was. Oh, she says, make sure you have a change of underwear and pants. Well, and be careful purchasing silver on eBay. There was a Chinese panda, a 1 ounce Chinese panda, and the minimum bid was $5. And so I bid $5, and I won the auction. And at that time, silver was like $12 an ounce. And so I got extremely suspicious. How can I get an ounce of silver for $5 plus shipping from China and here to the States? So once I got it, I took it over to Austin's Best Coin silver, coining Austin's best coin in gold or gold and silver or something. I don't. Anyhow, my local guy in Round Rock, and I was talking to him, and so he put it through some tests. There was no silver in it whatsoever, not a penny's worth. So be very, very careful on eBay, especially when you buy from the Chinese. I don't carry my birth certificate anywhere. I don't carry my passport with me. I don't carry my Social Security card. What I do carry is I carry my Texas driver's license, and I carry my retired ID card for the military, and my Eagle Scout card showing that I made Eagle Scout in 1967, and that's about it. But I've been tempted, and it'll be a terrible thing to do, is to answer the ice in Russian. I don't think that would go over too well. I don't think they have that big of a sense of humor anymore. Well, I'm not sure they ever did, but I'm not going to take any chances. I'm just going to say U.S. citizen. So any other questions? What other questions do you have? What other things do you have? Let's see what we're going to be doing next week. So we're going to start with 101. And next week we're going to have, how can I build up a survival library? Should trade and barter be part of a survival skill set? Is basic home safety a necessary part of survival preparedness? Is there any way to reduce my stress levels and remain calm during a survival emergency? That may take us a little bit of time. Is being armed necessary for a survivalist? If I don't have access to prescription pain relievers, what are my alternatives? Sue me, I need you here for that. How can I survive a nuclear event? Oh gosh, no, we aren't. We're only going to do 5 next week. That nuclear event, I want to do a video. On YouTube today, somebody asked, here are the situations, which one do you, and people are so afraid of nuclear events. I just did a printout of all the nuclear disaster movies. The first one that I remember seeing was called On the Waterfront. And I really liked one thing about the movie, and that's the music. They had Australian music. But anyhow, it's like a 1963 movie. I think there was only one other nuclear war movie before that. But if you take a look at the genre of we have been falsely and unnecessarily scared with fear mongering in the movies over what a nuclear apocalypse is going to look like. I can't tell you how many times I have to tell people 75% of the people, the population of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, were still alive a year after the bombings. It only affected 25 to 28% of the population, and that's after a year. So, and most radiation sickness will make you terminally ill way before a year. So people have been indoctrinated with all the science fiction and all these worst case scenarios to think that nuclear war is not survivable. It is highly survivable, especially if you know what to do. The people who think they want to give up, I'm all for it. I'm not going to change your mind. If you want to give up and throw yourself out there, do that. That just makes more resources available for the rest of us. But that's the way it is. But I'm going to tell you that if you read the books, Nuclear War Survival Skills is a fantastic book. The other one is After the Flash by Frank Moss. Fantastic books. Read those. You will be convinced you can survive it. It is survivable. Book of Numbers, chapter 6, verses 24, 25, 26. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord let his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord look upon you kindly and grant you peace. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for putting up with me. Hope you all have a wonderful evening. Please stay up with the news. Don't get scared. Just stay up with it. And remember, find a group, start a group, be a group. Remember that we're all in this together so we can come out the other side together. Continue as you are here. to be kind, polite, and respectful to each other, because the only way we're going to get through this is together. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.